So Investigation with Dr. T was the brainchild of our dean, Dr. Kimberly Durham. She said, do you think that you could do some type of an ongoing podcast about criminal justice? And I said, yeah, of course, definitely. And so that's sort of how it all started. So I thought that this year, what I would do is sort of call it the empowerment season. I really want to highlight and validate these folks who have turned their lives around. For the last season, we had on folks like Gregory Boyle from Homeboy Industries. He's a Jesuit priest who runs the largest gang rehabilitation program in the country. Let's look at folks who have actually succeeded at Homeboy, for example, and have a homeboy and a homegirl come on the show and talk about their experiences being in a gang. What was that like? What attracted them to Homeboy? And how has their lives changed and turned around as a result of it? This is really awesome. Justice restored, life after exoneration. And so I have an exoneree coming on, Willie McDonald. Willie was incarcerated wrongfully. I want to really zero in on what was that like for Willie. Dr. Barry Ryman, who is the clinical director at Recovery Unplugged, and Richie Supa, who is a former band member of Aerosmith. I have them both come on, talk about addiction, and talk about music. He's going to talk about how music as a modality can really be effective in helping addicts fight addiction. And of course, we're going to have student spotlight, former alum, etc., on some really cool and interesting topics. We are going to bring back Unfound, Ed Denzel, most definitely. This season of empowerment, like the gangs, former gang members, former folks who are incarcerated, and folks who struggle with addiction. I think that those are just like really important for folks to hear, and our students to hear, and even our faculty to hear.
So we always have a little bit of a warning that these subjects that we talk about are pretty intense, and they can trigger some trauma, some other original trauma, and so we want you to take care of yourself. Today, I'm so super psyched about my guests, and this is just unbelievable. What I would like to talk about with you here right now is who my guests are. George Nunez, Community Relations Manager. George came to Homeboy Industries 11 years ago, participated in an 18-month reentry program. He graduated from the program and began working in the Café for a brief time. George was then promoted to work in the community outreach, where he still works today. He works to keep our community members safe, make sure they also feel seen and cherished. George is a mentor, helps everyone in the community with whatever they might need, whether it's jump-starting your car or helping you find your way on the Homeboy campus. George is someone who will step in to help in any situation. And also with us tonight is a homegirl. I told you that we're going to have a homeboy and a homegirl. And so Claudia Garcia, Homegirl Café line supervisor. Claudia came to Homeboy 12 years ago, and she started as a trainee and then moved to the prep area of the kitchen at Homegirl Café. And she's worked in every area of the culinary homegirl operation in the social enterprise business that is at Homeboy Industries, including homegirl catering. So she's passionate about food and how it unites and brings people together. Claudia works closely with the trainees in Homeboy's 18-month reentry training program, and she mentors and teaches the trainees new techniques, food preparation and presentation, and all aspects of food handling. Claudia understands the importance of building relationship and trust with the trainees because she relates to their experiences and challenges, and she finds many similarities to her own life. Claudia plans to attend culinary school with the goal of bringing back all that she has learned to the culinary operations at Homeboy. And so those are my guests tonight. I am so super psyched, and I do want to say something. Here they are. I'm going to add their spotlight. This is Claudia and George. Please help me welcome them. And I had said before the show went live, I was saying that I am a huge fan, filled with honor and respect for Father Gregory Boyle, who I would consider to be a mentor. I would consider him to be someone who I would want to walk in his footsteps. I fail at that like a lot. I'm not as good as at it as he is. But he has this quote, and I just want to read it out loud because to me it's the way I want to live my life. It's the way I want to look at the world, right? So this is Father Gregory Boyle. He says, "No daylight to separate us, only kinship, inching ourselves closer to creating a community of kinship such that God might recognize it. And soon we imagine with God this circle of compassion. And then we imagine no one standing outside of that circle, moving ourselves closer to the margins so that the margins themselves will be erased. We stand there with those whose dignity has been denied, and we locate ourselves with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless. And at those edges, we join the easily despised and the readily left out, and we stand with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop. And we situate ourselves right next to the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away." Wow. Right? I mean, that's my national anthem right there. Especially, I was saying before we started the show, uh, in light of our election, in and I'm not politicizing this because this is about highlighting wonderful success stories, and this is about really empowering those who have really struggled for a long time, but to re-enter successfully and to have an effective intervention like we see with Homeboy Industries. But our country's divided right now. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or whatever you are, um, the demonization of immigrants, the demonization of people who are different and other than us, like I really feel like that has to stop. And that's what Father Boyle is all about. That's what Homeboy Industries is about. It's about nurturing. It's about compassion. It is about kinship. And you know what it is? It's about healing. And he says, and I'm going to close with this. He says, Father Boyle says, and I think that those who really love him and know him well call him Father G, right? George and Claudia, that right? Father G?
No, I really don't call him Father G.
Oh, you don't? What do you call him?
Call him Dad.
You call him Dad. Oh, I love that. I love that. Um, One of the things that Father Boyle will say over and over again is that people who are whole and people who are healthy don't walk into a school and start shooting. Don't kill someone. Don't get into fights and rage and all of that. And people don't just say, "Oh, I can't wait to be a heroin addict someday." Like that's what I want to be when I grow up, is a heroin addict. Like nobody wants that. No one who's whole and healthy and loved and cared for and cherished. That's his word too. Will do that. So enough out of me. I am so super psyched to hear from Claudia and George, to hear about what was it like to be in a gang, um, what attracted them to Homeboy, and how has their life completely changed. And I mean, George, why don't you start off? I mean, I love what you talked about with calling him Dad. Oh, that's it right there. Tell us.
So, for Father Greg Boyle, he's for me, right? And I've known him since 2000, 2002, 2003. Um, but like the reason I call him Dad is because he's a father to a lot of us that really didn't have a father in our lives. My father abandoned me, and he ended up dying in prison. In 2009, in 1998, he was killed in prison. So for me, like geez, my pops, my
Mm.
dad, he doesn't give hugs, he embraces. Because when you give somebody a hug, it's the difference between an embracement. Embracement has feeling, and it has love, and that's what I get when I hug Father Greg Boyle, when I hug Dad. And for me, like being from a gang was something that not forced, but it was there. I come from a family that's a gang related, gang infested, shall we say. And I joined the gang, and I just didn't wake up one day and say I want to be from a gang, because there was a lot of trauma, there was a lot of abuse, any abuse that you can think of, happening in my household. And one thing that I thought my home was going to be my safe haven, but obviously it wasn't. So I turned to the gangs because they fed me this big lie that I ran with for 30 years. And being part of a gang is not, it's not fun. I wouldn't say that, but it just felt good to be part of, belonging, being seen.
Mm.
And I did that for a long time. What I think would transform me, what I think changed me, and what brought me to Homeboys is that I was tired of being tired. And when I walked into the double doors, I felt the aroma. I felt it, I smelled it, and I wanted it. And I made the decision and the choice and decision to change my life and have get something different besides the same old things that I'm used to. So I've been here since 2013. Um, I surrendered. I submitted to the fact that no matter what it takes, I'm gonna ask for help, and I'm not gonna let my pride and my ego get in the way of being a different person. Not just being a man and being responsible and being part of my kids' life, not just be a dad, be a father to them. And just recent, like a month and a half ago, I got after 11 years, I got sole custody of my kids.
Wow.
Um, and it's something that we can never imagine. It's something that we couldn't wrap our minds around. You
Right.
know, just being a dad was enough, and it's not enough. I don't think there's a limit to being a father to my children. My oldest is 22, my middle is 17, and my youngest is 16. And the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, besides surrendering myself to a different life and
Mm.
Homeboy Industries, because they follow top three, top five, where I hold that statue to. But you know, I love what I do here. I'm a community relations slash security, and I the cliche, man, a person with many hats, but not a professional in none of them. Well, to me,
Huh.
I do anything you can think of right here. I'm certified to drive a forklift. I'm certified EMT. I'm certified CPR. I'm certified. Basically do everything. And it was the choice and the decision to that I made, that I allowed those opportunities to come my way and not just push them to the side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just take it as it come. And it's just Homeboy Industries is you know a lot of people say it's my second home, but for me it's my first home, because I just don't know how to leave this place. I mean, I got my home, I got my kids, I got everything that I never thought in 100 years I was gonna have. For me, it's mine. I worked hard for it, and I put the necessary work to gain and to have something that I never really dreamed of having. It's simple as a car. I have my own car. I got my job. I have it's an apartment, but it's mine. I pay the rent, and I
Mm-hmm.
never thought that I was gonna have any of that. Never thought that I was gonna be able to have that. And through the process of me being at Homeboys, I went through therapy. I started understanding the just didn't wake up one day wanted to be a gang member. Just didn't wake up one day to be I wanted to be a drug addict. No, I had to go through therapy and break myself down to really, 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 really get to the nitty gritty of the internal stuff that allows a person to change, allows a person to think different, allows a person to really get out of those elements as far as surviving. Because I was taught to survive, I wasn't never taught to live. So now that I was taught to live, it's a whole different ballgame. I'm in love with this. I'm in love. I love waking up in the morning, looking forward to come over here. You know, we don't have capes. We can't save the world. But my thing is, if I could save one person every day, I've done my job.
Mm, mm,
Now, you know, and I learned that, you know, through the trauma and the abuse that I went through as a child, that's what made me cover the pain. Because that's all it was. It was just pain. I was just running from the pain because I don't know how to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with it. You
mhm.
know, back in the days I grew up where whatever has happens in the house stays in the house, and to keep quiet, speak when spoken to, and you know, I made the mistake and followed through with that, and you know, I suffered a lot of consequences. You know, I've been in and out of, you know, after 2000, before 2013, when I came to Homeboy Industries, I was I was in and out of prison. You know, I got a, you know, at 13 years old, I caught a life sentence. Um, and I didn't get out till I was 25. And you know, like I said, I don't want to glorify that because that's not who I am no more. That's not my life no more.
Mhm.
I could like it's still in the back burner just in case, because one bad decision, one bad choice can you can throw everything away that you built, that you worked so hard for
Mhm.
and love working for it, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And then for me, and I'm in with this, I may
Mhm.
not be where I want to be, but I'm far away from where I was. Thank
Mm.
you.
I love it. I love it. Claudia, tell us about you. Tell us, your story of how you came to Homeboy, from where you came, and what attracted you to that, and then what attracted you to Homeboy.
So I actually had what I think was a good upbringing and a happy childhood. And I think it was the moment that my parents divorced that was hard for me. I didn't know how to cope with that. And so I think I didn't want to be home. So I found comfort hanging out in the streets with what was my childhood friends, which were also part of the gang. And so to me, it was just hanging out with friends I grew up with. And eventually, we start making bad decisions. And um, I know I did. I just kept thinking, I don't want to go home. My dad's not there. And so every chance I got, I'd run away and go right back to the area where I grew up. And I remember my parents moved well before they moved, and then they split up. And so we had moved away from the home where we grew up, and I kept going back to that area. And I don't know what I was looking for, maybe a family, because mine was splitting apart. And it makes me emotional, but
Mhm. It's okay.
I think it was just I didn't know how to cope with it, and that's what led me to the streets. And I didn't, nothing attracted me to Homeboys actually. I ended up here, which now that I think about it, it wasn't a coincidence. I
Hmm.
was on probation, and it was 13, 12 years ago. And so I was on probation, and my probation officer was like, you either have to find a job or go to school. And so I went to adult school, and that didn't work out really. It was like I was in a classroom with a bunch of um, high school students that needed credits to go back to high school. And so I just felt out of place. And I remember I needed to do community service. And so I came to Homeboys to do this community service. And I was like, I'm just going to do the community service and maybe get a job, at Homeboys. And my probation officer was get off my back. And as soon as I'm off probation, I'm going to leave this place. And so, but that didn't happen. There's something, if you've ever been to Homeboys, and if you haven't, you should really try to come here, and you will feel something when you come in these doors. And I think it's what you feel is acceptance. And so when you come in, you feel accepted. People are asking you, how you feeling today? You know, you get the hugs. And so, or like George said, they embrace you. And so you start feeling like, hey, you know, somebody believes in me. And so eventually the hard part is believing in yourself.
Mm.
But it was like I when I see the trainees come in, I remember when I came in and it was that feeling of you don't really know you're broken or lost, but you are. And so I'm sorry now, it's making me emotional because I'm remembering, you know, coming to this place and feeling that way. Um, so once you start believing in yourself, you know, you really want to be proud of yourself and you want people to be proud of you. And so you start trying to figure out how can I change? How can I be better? And so when I came here, I'm sorry, I
You know,
had a, I
what
had a I had a pending case. And so when I came on the interview, I remember them telling me, why don't you go take care of that case you have and then come back for a job? And I said, okay. So I needed to go to the county jail and do like 180 days or something like that. And so I went, and the thing that really kind of made the change in my brain was a visit that I had with my kids. I have two boys, and so God, I'm such a crybaby.
That's okay. You know what they say, you know, in some recovery circles, you know, you hear this saying that, you know, a grateful person will not go back to the way that they were living because they're so grateful. And so these are tears of joy and gratitude,
Right.
right? Yeah.
And so I was in this place, and my two boys came to visit me. And I think the moment I could tell my oldest son, he's very much like me, and so he'll pretend everything's okay and make jokes, but I know that he was hurting, you know, seeing me there. And my youngest son, he's very close to me, and so he didn't want to pick up he didn't want to pick up the receiver, and he didn't want to look at me. And I remember sitting there and I just thought, I don't want to cry. And I wanted the visit to be over fast. And so, you know, they convinced him to pick up the phone. And so he was looking at the floor, not really looking at me. And you know, I was trying to make him laugh, and he wasn't talking. And so the visit was over, and I remember getting up fast, and I just wanted to go back to my bunk. And that really was maybe the part where I was like, I'm hurting my kids. And so I knew that, you know, I needed to do something. I just didn't know how. And so I came back to Homeboys when that was over. And so I started working here. I started working on the on myself, really, because I started doing the classes, parenting, anger management. I tried to my JD, which it wasn't working out at that time. And so I ended up actually this old case came up from 2011. I started into Homeboys at 2012. And so this old case from 2011, you know, came up. And so it turned out I had to go do time. So I was going to be away from my kids again. And so this time I went to prison. I went to federal prison, and there was no guarantee that I was going to come home because I was not born here. So they were talking about, oh, we're going to take away your green card because of the charges. And that was hard. And that was foreign to me because I've been here since I was a year and a half. So this is all I know. I don't know, you know, I don't remember living in Mexico. So I was like, how am I going to live in Mexico and my kids are going to be here? So I had to turn myself in, and all I kept thinking was, I don't know if I'm going to come home or I'm going to be released in Mexico. You know, how am I going to do that? And so I remember being in prison and just thinking, you know, time is just wasting away. And I don't know if this is the last time I'm going to see my kids when they come visit me. And when I was released from prison, ICE picked me up. And that was another, um, you know, experience that I never thought I would go through. And so I didn't really have anything to fight for. I mean, I had everything to fight for. I didn't have anything that was valid to them that was like, you're going to win your case. I didn't. I was more like, how can I buy time to stay here before they really kick me out? And so I remember asking for a bail, and I had to sit there for 6 months and wait for a court date. And the judge wasn't sure whether he should give me a bail or not. And so he asked me to wait 3 days, no, 2 days. And I remember calling home on the second day, and they were like, he said he needs an extra day to make a decision. And I was like, wow. I saw a lot of people come back that weren't getting bail. Some were getting deported, and some had bails that were like, $3,000, $5,000. And I remember on the third day I called home, and they're like, you have a bail, but it's really high. And then I was just like, wow, I don't know what's going to happen. But I kind of had a feeling like my mom's going to do everything she can to try to get me home. And so, she was able to, I was lucky that that judge decided to give me a bail, because he really wasn't sure whether he should let me out or keep me there to get deported. And so my mom got me out about a week later. And so I came out and I had an ankle monitor, and I came right back to Homeboys because I knew that the doors would be open for me. And so
It's okay, Claudia. I think that here, listen, here's the thing. When people share honestly and they share raw, which is what you're doing right now, believe me when I tell you that it is coming across so well. All right, so it's all good. Everything that you're sharing shows the pain, shows the trauma, shows the desperation, but it shows the hope. So the gift of desperation is what you've been both given and blessed with. And from that gift of desperation comes the hope of a new way of life, a new way to live, and helping others to find hope too. And that's what you're doing. I mean, like, let's not forget that anybody who's here live, great. But whoever is not here live can watch it on the recording. This is going to be there forever. And how many people might you help? You might save one person tonight by your sharing. So don't say you're sorry. You just be you, be honest, be raw, and give it away.
okay. So I came back to Homeboys, and so I started in the cafe. And actually, I had started in a cafe before, but I didn't really see, I didn't want to move up. I didn't see the point. I was like, I'm going to go to prison and I don't know if I'm coming back. So why even try? And so I didn't I didn't really try that hard in the kitchen to move anywhere. I stayed in prep for a long time, and just that's all I ever saw. And I didn't care to move into any other department. And so when I came back, I remember when I was in prison, I kept thinking, if I just get a chance to go home, like, I'll do the best I can to do something with myself, something that my kids can be proud of, because I've never been a role model. So that's what I did. I came back, and I started in the catering department, and I learned so many things. And so now when I have people, trainees that come in, I think about that, and I think it was given to me, and I have to give it back. And so I'm currently working on the line and I supervise the trainees that come in, and I train them. And so I try my best to be that mentor. And sometimes it's easy to forget where you've been, but I get reminded. I think instead of me teaching them, sometimes they teach me. And so I get reminded of where I came from and what I felt coming in through these doors. And so I think that I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it again, that for me, teaching someone in the kitchen, anything, it could be anything. And it might seem like something small to somebody. It's something big sometimes to somebody to learn something they've never done before, and say, oh man, I just made this sandwich, or I just made these chilaquiles, or I didn't know how to make salsa. I didn't know how to make, anything that we make. For someone that's never been in the kitchen, and it's empowering. It's empowering, and you see them walk a little taller, and with their chest out, and they're proud, and that's what I like about it, and it did it for me. And I think it's a lot of it is healing for me to teach someone, and also for them to learn it. And I continue to do that, and I continue to have to remind myself, that I was there once. And I am very grateful. I'm grateful because a couple of years ago, the pandemic happened, and so my case kept getting prolonged. And so I was happy about that in a way, because I was buying time just to be here with my kids, and I really didn't have anything, valid that I can say, this is why you need to let me stay in this country. And so I remember thinking, I know they made a mistake somewhere during my sentencing, and nobody wanted to take the case, and no one lawyer did, and he saw what I saw, and it was basically on a technicality. And so 2 years ago, I went back to court and reopened my case, and I won. And that was, big for me, because the same prosecutor that was so mean to me, and said he was going to make sure Homeland Security knew I was home if I was to get out, came out and shook my hand, and he said, I can tell you're not the same person that I sentenced 10 years ago. And he said he was going to advocate for me. And, I didn't really believe it. And I waited and I waited. And of course, he didn't make it easy for me. And he wanted to have a conversation with me. And I had to go back down there and have a conversation. But he basically just wanted to sit there and talk to me and probably see where I was at, and he told me that I should be very proud of myself, because I did this and that. Again, by the way that I was answering his questions, he could tell I was not the same person from 10 years ago, and he was willing to change my charge, which would not be deportable. And so I'm now working on my citizenship, and so I am very grateful. And if this place did this for me, I know it works miracles for a lot of people.
Thank you so much for that. Amazing. You made, vulnerable, beautiful, honest sharing. And I hope that our viewers and our students, because we have a whole bunch of students here. We have PhD students, undergrads, master's students, faculty, and there's a lot of people that are going to watch this later on. Some people don't watch it live, they watch it later, but you're sharing your experience and your strength and your hope. And that is it's just remarkable and miraculous. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. George, did you want to add anything that maybe in Claudia's sharing maybe came up for you and you might want to share about it? I hope you guys are seeing that
You changed your
Share it.
my shirt. I had to. Okay. So anything, George, you want to add? And I also really want our viewers to understand what are the various programs that are offered at Homeboy.
So
But go ahead.
it's like for me, what came to mind right now is that it's never too late to change. It's never too late to make that decision and choice to do a complete transformation of your old life to your new life. Here at Homeboy Industries, we basically offer anything that any community client, anyone that wants to come into Homeboy Industries, and we got free tattoo removal. We have therapists. We have anger management. We have um, um, parenting. We have project fatherhood,
Tattoo removal.
tattoo removal. We have there's a lot of people that like for myself. I'm using myself as an example. I wanted to get my kids back in my life, and the lawyers here, we have family lawyers, we have a lot of different lawyers here that will help anybody like to get their kids back in their lives. They have a case pending, and there's Father Greg Boyle who write letters for you for court. And we have the enterprises, we have recycling, we have the bakery, we have the cafe.
Bakery. Yeah, the bakery. Let me just George, I'm gonna interrupt a second. Anybody who's watching, if they really want to support Homeboy Industries and what Homeboy is doing, the holidays are coming. And so I think a
You
few
could go to
hol-
Shop Homeboy.
say it again.
Shop Homeboy.
Shop Homeboy, and
Can
you
order baked goods and you can order merchandise, coffee cups. You can even
yes.
order like gift baskets that include a lot of the baked stuff, shirts. Yeah,
Yep,
merchandise, anything really.
Basically, this is a one-stop shop.
it is.
It's a
And
and
go ahead.
not just for merch, not just for the bread goods, not just for the cafe, but this is a one-stop shop for learning how to get a new life,
How to
learning
get
how
in.
to be strong enough and have the courage to leave that lifestyle alone and adopt a new one, because that's what it is. See me, I gave 100% to my lifestyle. I gave it 100%, and I just turned the tables. Now I give my life, myself, my kids, and this great organization that I call home 100%. And for me, that's the joy of giving back. We I love this place. No doubt in my mind. And I just I love this place, and I just thank myself, and I thank Father Greg Boyle for actually giving us a first chance, second chance, third chance, fourth chance,
Mm,
fifth chance. Because at the end of the day, I know Father Greg Boyle sees something in us that at the beginning we didn't see in ourselves. He believed
exactly.
in us, we didn't believe in ourselves, and that right there's a game winning shot per se,
Mm-hmm.
because you know we learn how to love ourselves. We learn how to appreciate ourselves, and we learn how to be grateful. We learn how to be grateful because not a lot of people have this opportunity. I just want to, people that are in prison for the rest of their lives, people that have passed along, they never got that chance to experience, and like I said, I love this place, and this is to me, this is my first and second home for me.
That's awesome. It's just really awesome. And I could tell you from personal experience that Homeboy original cinnamon coffee cake is to die for.
And they
Seriously.
have it at the shop on shop.
What?
It's Shop Homeboy, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
they have it little in a little tin can with a little gift if you want to send it as a gift or to yourself.
It's delicious. And so is the assorted butter cookies.
Those are
They're they're really good. And it comes really fast too. So if you order it, you'll definitely get it in time for the holidays. And I want to encourage people to do so. It's reasonable, and it's really, really, really delicious. Um, but but Claudia, when you well, Claudia and George, both of you, when you shared, you could really feel um, the healing and the transformation. See, because I think that's what I think Homeboy is the most effective in doing. It's transformative. It's reimagining the person that they never thought they could be. And see, for so many, um, again, it's not like, oh, I can't wait. When I grow up, I'm going to be in a gang, like that. Well, that's not really it. What's really it is not feeling part of, not feeling welcome, not feeling loved, not feeling cherished, right? All the things that Father Boyle talks about. But you find something there because they're hugging you. As soon as you like walk in, they're welcoming you. They're wanting to show you the way, and you feel part of a group of people that you didn't feel part of in your family of origin, maybe, or your environment of origin, right? Am I saying that right? George, Claudia?
If you're not a hugger, when you come here, you will leave a hugger.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about 12 step? Is 12 step a big part? Because I would imagine that addiction is also tied in there, right?
So for me, I'm a recovery myself. I got 11 years clean. I'm proud
Oh,
of
God bless you.
it.
Awesome.
It is. We have classes. We have substance abuse. We have AA, NA, and we do open the doors for that for people that want to get in recovery, like myself. I'm in recovery, and then recovery is the best thing that ever happened to me because I found out who I really am, who I really was, and I learned about the facade, the wall you build around you because you don't want nobody to violate it. Um, and it's just like the recoveries. Yes, it's here as well.
Yes. Claudia, you want to add anything? Because I mean, we're talking about recovery and talking about, uh, again, getting involved in criminal enterprise it's not something that you say, oh, this is my goal. I want to do this.
It's
It's
something like
you're,
where you said in the beginning where don't look at the differences, but the similarities.
mhm.
Like for myself, I was not a drug addict, but the reason I went to prison and my charges were drug related. And I may not have left my kids to be addicted to drugs, but I left them that something that had to be drug related. And those are some similarities of having an addiction to money or drugs. And it's kind of like the same in a way. And I remember being here at Homeboys, and I, I I was still kind of on the fence and living a double life, you could say, in the beginning. And so because I wasn't sure about this place, and like I said, I was only going to be here temporarily. And you know, they did a random drug test, and I never imagined that anything was going to come out on me, but I had been um, doing stuff still that I shouldn't have, and maybe touching stuff I shouldn't be touching. And they sent me to rehab, and I remember telling, Father G, like, I'm not a drug addict. Like, I shouldn't go to this rehab. And he said, well, kiddo, you were still doing something you weren't supposed to be doing.
Mm.
And so I tried to avoid it for weeks and weeks. And they finally said, if you don't go, you can't work here. And I said, oh my God, my probation officer is going to get me and violate me if I don't have a job. So I said, fine, I will go. And they said, only 90 days. And, I ended up staying there 8 months because I ended up learning so much about myself and the similarities that I had. And I thought when I was in that program, I learned about integrity. And I said, a lot of these girls, they're coming back from court because they're taking their kids away because they, had a drug addiction, and they come and they talk to me and they're crying, and I felt like such a hypocrite. And I said, how can I go back out there and keep doing what I'm doing, and justifying it like I'm doing it because I need money or whatever, when these girls are confiding in me? And I said, that's a part of having integrity. And so that also was a big part of, hey, I need to do something else. I need to really change something here. And so, like I said, it wasn't easy, but there's people here that guide you, and then you start wanting to, make people proud of you, and especially your kids.
Yes.
And so you got to teach them the right way so that they can, also learn the right way.
One of the if you're looking on the merch right now, so some people are probably on the merch right now. Shop Homeboy. There's a really cool new jacket that's there. See, I I like suffer from like a shopping addiction, I think. So I got to be careful with that. But there's this saying that another quote, Father Boyle says that God, you've been made. How is it? How does he say it? You are
You are
exactly what
simply what
God had in mind. Go ahead. Go
you
ahead. Say it again, Claudia.
are exactly what God had in mind when He made you.
And that's probably what a lot of folks that come to Homeboy in the beginning, like they don't feel that way. Yeah, they don't feel worthy. They don't feel loved. They don't feel good enough. They don't feel valued. And so that becomes really difficult. And then when you add the stigma of society, again, the demonization, it's very difficult. It's difficult, but love conquers it, and being cherished conquers it. And I also think that I love your story, Claudia, because Father G doesn't, he doesn't enable. He's not an enabler. He's not co-signing anything. He's telling you, hey, kiddo, but he's saying it with such love, in the way in which I believe a higher power would sort of be, talking to us and be saying like, that's not cool what you did. Look, that was harmful to yourself and your spirit. So here's it's time maybe to look at this and maybe change it, and but it's done in such a loving way. It's not done in a judgmental way or a critical way, right?
Right.
Yeah. George, you want to put your 2 cents in?
I'm just excited, and I just want to thank you for having us and giving us that opportunity to share our story, to not just continue our healing, but as well as your students, and make it something out of this, and it's just a blessing to be here at Homeboy, and I'm just I'm happy. I'm happy that you
Good.
thank you.
I'm happy. Thank you. Are you kidding me? And when you see Father G, please send my love and how proud I am of both of you. I'm just so inspired by you and blessed by you. I think it's time for us to go to for us to go to some of the questions. Cameron, you were gonna do this, right? So that I have my students, with me, and they're my project managers, they're my production team, they're my homeboys and homegirls. um, so Cam, you want to come on and read some of the webinar questions if you don't mind? Here he is.
Yes, I'm right here.
All right, great.
Okay, the first question I have for you guys is Dave wanted to know if what you found to be the biggest factor that helped with motivation during both of your journeys from gang members to members of society, and what prevented you from going back into gang lifestyle.
For me, it's my kids, and I really, really, really work hard. I really put my 100% into this new life that I chose to gain. So and it was hard work, and it was worth it. So no, I mean I think my factor is it's gonna be my kids, because I don't want to abandon them like my biological father abandoned me. So I don't want them to go through that ever again.
Next question.
Yeah.
Maybe this one, Claudia, you can answer.
Okay.
And my next question is, how do you all cope when you first entered Homeboy with seeing and interacting with former friends who were still part of gang life?
Oh, good question.
I think, well, for me, I think I was just at that point where, like George said, surrendering and just not really caring about that. But it's not always like that. Sometimes there are interactions And for a lot of us, it takes a couple of times to really make that change. But I think for myself, once I made the decision to really like, when I came back and really made the decision, like it was just, I was focused on me and what I needed to do, and I wasn't really caring about the next person. And I think it's like that for most of us, not all of us at the time or at that moment. So I think we're all just kind of in our own little journey. I know it was for me. It was like that for me.
Okay, fabulous. Eddie, I know that Cameron had some technical difficulties just now, but I'm gonna add a spotlight for you to ask the questions, the remaining questions. I think
Okay.
that what he asked already, we asked those two. So Dave Blair's and let's see, yeah, Dominique. So we
Okay.
answered Dominique's and we answered Dave's.
All right.
Christopher Robley is the last question.
We have two left, actually. We have one from Christopher and Ebony.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Good.
Yep. Okay.
Go ahead.
So Ebony asked, do you guys speak to kids in school about your experiences and what advice you would give to prevent someone from joining a gang?
Um, after the pandemic, during the pandemic, I was before the pandemic hit, I was actually going into the juvenile hall. And it's funny that you asked because I went into one of the juvenile halls that I got sentenced at when I was younger, when I got my life sentence. And when I went back, they were surprised to see me. They were like, they had to give me a double take, like, is that you? Like, yeah, that's me. Oh, wow. So, we do that. We go into the juvenile halls, we go into the camps. And, for me, my message is, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth going, being part of that lifestyle because, what they don't tell us is that we're gonna suffer a lot of pain. And they don't tell us that we're gonna be away from our families. They don't tell us that we're gonna be in a dark place. See, those are the things they don't tell us when I joined when I joined my gang. They didn't tell us that. They fed us this big fake lie, and I ran with it for a long time. So, you know, trust me when I say it's not worth it. It's not worth it because you are going to lose a lot.
And I just recently went to a school um, and spoke with some kids, and I remember the staff there, they were like, these are the last two. I went into three classrooms, and she was like, these are the last two classrooms that you're going into, and they're not going to listen, just so you know. But surprisingly, I walked in there and they were very quiet and they really wanted to hear what I had to say. And I just shared really, and I think it's very effective because I remember at one point being in one of the detention centers when I was younger, and they brought some people to talk to us, and I did not want to hear what they had to say, and everything they were saying, the whole time I was thinking, what do you know? You've never been through this. Like, you took a class and you think you know this lifestyle, and I don't care what you're saying. And so I was very like, I'm not listening. And it's different when you're hearing it from someone that's lived it and has gone through it, because I'm telling you what I went through, and I'm not making it up, and I didn't read it in a book. And this is what happened to me. I can only speak of what happened to me. And if you want to go through this, or don't do what you're doing. And I think that's the effective part. Um, it helps more when you're hearing it from someone that's been there. And it's like that when you come here, I believe, and you see someone that went through all of that and now they're in a different place, and you kind of like, hey, I want to be there, or I want to have what they have. And that's what I try to be when people come in, and it's like, you are here now, but you can get to where I am or where someone else's, and you're capable of it. We all are. And a lot of people grow up thinking that you can't achieve certain things, like, and I think that's a big part of me trying to go to school now, because I never thought of it growing up. I always thought I'm never gonna do that. Like, that doesn't happen to me. Like, but I can do that, and we all can. And it's just basically believing in yourself.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Eddie, you have one more, right? We have one more question.
We did have two people ask additional questions as we were answering.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So let's just finish it up if we can.
Yep. So Christopher Robley asked, without being too personal, can either of you or both of you talk a bit about how and when you knew that your children had decided to give acceptance to the new persons that you have committed to being?
Well, it's at the beginning of me coming to Homeboys and figuring out me, my kids didn't believe me because they thought, oh yeah, he's just saying that because you said it before, or he's gonna leave again, or he's gonna do that, or he's gonna go back to the streets, or he's gonna go back to jail and he's gonna leave us again. But after a few years, they were like, oh wow, he's staying. So they got a little bit more closer, and over the years a little bit more closer. And my relationship with my kids may not be perfect, but I love that they call me for a question. I love that they call me if just to see how I'm doing. And I just love hanging around with them, and I feel like they got a little closer as they started to see the new change in me. And that's when I think the acceptance came, when they see me being consistent. That's what it is. It's about being consistent, and I have. And I love my kids, and I love that they're a part of my life, and I love that they come to me for anything. They'll come for me, especially for money. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
I think what George is saying is it's not easy. It's one thing with kids is building that trust again, because they don't want to be hurt. They don't want to think that you're there and then you're not there because they've been left before. And so consistency is a big thing. Keep showing them that you are there. Um, you say something, you mean it, because you've already broken their trust before. So you have to rebuild again. And that knowing when that they decided to, let this new person in again, when they start calling or asking you for something, for a favor, mom, can you pick me up? Then they're trusting me again. I have to be there,
Exactly. Exactly.
and so just yesterday my son locked his keys in his car at work, and it was late and I had to be at work early, and I showed up, to help him out. And it's, you know, because I owe them that, because I need to be consistent.
Right.
Even though they're old enough to drive now, they're still need mom.
You see that absolutely, and it's such a beautiful gift to see them reaching out, right, and trusting, and the relationship is being healed and transformed. And I know a lot of times for folks in recovery, especially, it's like, um, when we make a decision to change, we make a decision to, like you said, George earlier used the word surrender. When we surrender, we expect then everybody that we hurt before, who was maybe a casualty in our wake of addiction, violence, whatever it was that we were taken over by, we hurt people. And now we're changing and we're growing and we're healing and we're learning, but we expect everybody to kind of like appreciate it right away, and it takes time. So it's a patient
Process.
process that you have to persevere, and every day, just for today, do your best, and then you'll see the gifts, and the gifts will keep coming. They really will. Eddie, is there one last? Let's do one last one because we always like to end right around the hour. So can we? Maybe one more, a really good one. Not that the others weren't good. I don't mean that.
All right, let me see. Okay. We had an anonymous attendee say, a friend of mine told me that he was recruited to be in a gang in middle school. Did you feel pressure from a really young age too?
I think yes, you do, and but you don't because a lot of times I got in my gang when I was 9 years old, so it was way before middle school, and I can say I felt the pressure, like not being forced per se, but it's just like like just people surrounding you, and then you come over here, and it's just the intimidation that you see and you feel, because 9 years old, that's kind of young to be even thinking about, being a part of a gang or even participate in that lifestyle. But yeah, it's a little pressure. It's a little pressure.
Claudia, do you want to weigh in on that answer?
I think for me, it was pressure of myself, not so much from the gang, because like I said, I grew up with the people there, and a lot of them were like, no, you're a church girl, like you can't, you're from a good family. And I was like, just do it, just do it. And I just I think it was just me pressuring myself. I don't know why I was being rebellious, but there is pressure because I've seen it, and as I got older, it was like, no, don't pressure them. Like they're not from this lifestyle, and there is, and like I said, I've seen it in school, I've seen it in the streets. There's pressure, and sometimes you can't walk away from it because you feel like you have to. But once you get older, and you go through all that, you're like, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey, listen, I just cannot tell you how happy I am that I feel so blessed by tonight. What a wonderful way to end this particular season of empowerment with the both of you, sharing your experience, your strength, your hope about Homeboy Industries and how it's changed and saved your lives, and how it's changing and saving others' lives. So one sentence to close. George, you go first, then Claudia will have actually the last word.
Uh, in this life that we live, regardless how much we changed, right? And it's this quote I got from one of my it's he was in recovery, one of my predecessors. Pain is mandatory, suffering is optional, misery is a choice.
Mm, love it. Wonderful. That is an awesome quote. Thank you for that. Claudia, take
Mm,
us home.
Please.
it reminds me of something that I said once here, and I was talking with Allison about it earlier, and it was like, when you come here, you have all the tools to make a change in your life. And it was more like I heard it in a movie, and it made sense to me, and it said, what's the point of being at your fighting weight if you're not going to fight?
Wow. I like that. That's
Not
great.
physically, but
Yeah, I know. So tell us, you're going to culinary school?
I'm looking into it. Yeah. I want to get my bachelor's and learn a little bit more.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I hope this isn't the last time I see the both of you. My dream is someday to take a trip to Cali and visit you guys and see you and see the operation. And so I
I
just want
will
you to
enjoy
keep
it, and then you can eat at the cafe.
wonderful. Yes. Are you in LAX now? Is
No. Oh, yeah, there is one in LAX. Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah. I think Homegirl, right?
Yes.
Homegirl Cafe.
I think it's Homeboy.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Not, it's not like it's not like headquarters cafe.
oh, it's not.
Look,
And you don't have the bakery like we do here. So
yes,
you have to come.
Ah,
you gotta experience the whole headquarters,
the whole operation, the whole
George will give
command
you
and
a
control
tour.
center.
and I'll give you a personal tour,
All
and you'll
right.
be at the gate because I'm the gatekeeper right here.
Fabulous. Hey,
That's
listen, do you know of any do they do internships there? Do you know volunteer internships like our students might be able to do maybe over the summer or something, an unpaid
You can find
internship?
something like that online on if you go to the website, I
Oh
think.
yeah?
Or you
Okay.
can email Allison. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll reach out to Allison, Eddie, Annie, and Cameron will remind me to follow up on that because I think that would be amazing for our students, our undergrads, or even our PhD students. Anybody who happens to be in Cali who can do it, why not, right? It would just be so awesome. And also, if those are our viewers tonight who are inspired by anything that you heard or saw, Dr. Father Boyle has a lot of really great books that are out there barking to the choir, and I think he has another one that's about forgiveness. It's like radical forgiveness or something. Do you know the name of it?
And just had an and just he just came out with a new one.
Yes, something about cherishing,
Cherish belonging.
cherish belonging. Okay, yeah. So happy holidays.
Thank
We have a
you.
lot to be grateful for this particular Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And a
Uh,
big
and
shout out to Allison. Thank you for trusting us and having us here.
yes,
That was
yes.
just wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, because Allison's the one who's been. See, I texted Father G, and then he gave me Allison, and then Allison gave me you. So that's how this works. Anyway, I love you both, and many, many blessings
Yeah.
and in our prayers. And we're so impressed and proud. And we'll see you soon.
Yes.
All right. Good night, everybody. And that ends our season. We start back up again in January, and our next season, wow, is going to be so cool because we're going to look at police from a human perspective. We have a tendency to demonize the police um, from time to time, and in some cases, police are acting in criminal ways, and I don't consider them to be part of the brotherhood or the sisterhood at all if they're acting in any kind of criminal way. But most of the police are really doing the best they can, and you want to talk about sort of a profession that isn't really understood 100%. So next season, we are going to be talking all about police and families, police relationships, some police investigation stuff, because I know you all think that's so cool and sexy, and it kind of is. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about police leadership. It's going to run the gamut in terms of federal enforcement, federal law enforcement, local law enforcement, but also getting to the human aspect of the police. Because we're not, when I say we, because I was 20 years in NYPD and police officer, but we don't recruit from another planet. We recruit for the police positions from here, from society, and that means humans. We're human. We're in a human profession, human service industry, but we're human too, and that's what the whole season is going to be about. Next season is all about police and the human face of policing. All right, everybody, take care. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy New Year. We'll see you next year. We'll see you in 2025. Good night, everybody.